welcome back to Call the Damn Leads, the show by sales professionals for sales professionals. I'm your host, Drew B. Wilson. With more than 2 decades in sales, I've seen it, been through it, heard about it. Now I'm bringing it to you, my favorite people in the world, the sales community, because this is the greatest job on earth. Doesn't matter where you come from, what background, what personality type. You can create an amazing life in sales. Today's guest, no stranger to the journey. He's my new friend, Mr. Michael Buzinski. Welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me.
I'm grateful to have you, man. I know we're going to have a great conversation today, but I want to jump right into it with your crazy sales story.
My crazy sales story. It's funny. My crazy sales story was actually a reverse sales story. I had a gentleman that I had been networking. I was living in Anchorage, Alaska at the time. We had a creative agency up there. And this gentleman who was a CPA by trade wanted to start a professional football team in Alaska.
Okay.
And at the time, this is back in the 2006, 2007 area. Okay. So this has been a minute, but indoor football was really big. Okay. And arena ball. And he wanted to have an arena ball in Alaska. And so he was actually selling me on me coming in and being a fractional CMO for him. Now, that part was the easy part. So I got a client. That was fun. So it was like very rare do you actually get somebody who will take you out for drinks and get you to say yes to the job, right? Type of thing, right? And it's not a job. It was like, I'm a consultant. I was a 1099er, the whole 9 yards, right? But the crazy thing was then my first job was to sell the concept of an Alaskan indoor football team to the AFL. And so we got shipped down to Costa Rica where they were having the AF2 Cup. And then we sat in this room in Costa Rica all day, getting the slide deck all ready to go, the whole 9 yards, right? And we get in there, and I do the whole presentation. I'm the first one to talk. Get in there, and all you have is just a room of owners, and you're pitching your idea for a football team to be added to their roster of teams, which then they become intertwined with you financially. Right. So they have to believe that you have a good brand, that you're upscaling the league, but then also that you're not going to be a drain on their wallet. Right. And so we go through, we have all these heads bobbing up and down, up and down. Yes. This sounds cool. This is awesome. We already had like the Alaska Wild. We had this eaglet logo. We did everything. Right. It was beautiful. Right. Then the first question our owner gets asked is like, how much money do you have in the bank after? And he had like $300,000 in the bank type of thing. And they're like, yeah, that one question got us disqualified. Boom. Just like that. But we spent all this time pitching this whole thing and sold it. We had sold it. But sometimes, you got to have the money.
Money talks, man. And I could see kind of how a league like that would want to know that you're able to continue reinvesting into something like that, because brand awareness is a huge part of how you build an audience. And the audience is ultimately how you generate your leads and how you get people to buy more of your stuff. And being someone in the marketing world, Buzz, I'd be really curious, because I love this conversation of brand awareness, marketing, sales, how it all ties together. Because most sales professionals, they come in and they're just like, I'm going to sell. But they don't realize that you have to not only market yourself to generate the leads, but that brand awareness comes in together at the same time. So I'd love your insight on that for my listeners.
We call it the marketing operating system, right? And so a lot of people think that marketing and sales are two different things. But back in the 90s, the Department of Marketing and Sales was sales. You were in the sales and marketing department. Sales number one, marketing number two. It was always kind of an afterthought. And then at some point they separated because you have different KPIs that everybody's looking to keep their job. And this is in big companies, right? But really, if you look at the job of marketing and advertising are two different things, right? So people are things like, oh, I'm going to do some more. I do marketing. We do Google ads or Meta ads or, advertising. I'm like, that's advertising. That's not marketing. And that's why they call it marketing and advertising. So with that though, I always say that marketing is the magnet. Sales is the collector. Okay. So you have to, the top of mind awareness is just you making sure that your magnet is close to the types of nails and screws and bolts that you're trying to attract into your toolbox. Okay? Into your garage, if you will. All right? I'm probably making a horrible analogy here, but we'll work with it. So with that magnet comes in there. The sales team doesn't have anybody to sell to unless marketing is bringing it in. Okay, if you're talking about inbound sales. Now, if you're an ABM or something like that, where your job is to then do business development, that's not sales. Sales is part of your job. You're developing the sales conversation. Well, that's what marketing does en masse. Supposed to, right? And that's where people forget. And it's like marketing is nothing without a sales team to catch it. Because you can bring it all in, but there's nobody to catch it. What's going to happen? They're just going to go to the next. Who will catch it, right? And we talk about follow-up, and we talk about all the things on the sales side that save us from wasting marketing dollars. But if people don't look at their marketing as part of their sales team, they're losing, leaking, bleeding money, sales. They're burning out salespeople. They're burning out and disenfranchising their marketing people. If they're outsourcing their marketing, they're wasting their money. They might as well just take dollar bills, staple their business card, if you even have one anymore, and throw it out in the street, because that's all you're doing. Just waiting for somebody to pick it up and go, oh yeah, maybe I need that, and then call you and come closed, right? But that's how I look at it. They're intertwined.
I love that. It's one of those conversations that when I'm working with clients and doing consulting, because I do we consult on businesses, I'm asking them, it's like, all right, well, how much are you spending on your branding and your marketing? And usually they're like, oh, we've got billboards or radio ads, or we do Facebook and all this stuff. And I'm like, okay, but what's the actual number? And and as you said, it's the KPIs that matter. And a lot of times people are like, well, we're spending, I don't know, 10 grand a month. And I'm like, okay. And are you actually tracking what's working and what's not working? Right. And they're like, well, sure, we're making more money than we're spending. And I'm like, that's not what I asked you. Like, are you actually certain that they saw the billboard and then clicked on your ad, or did they click on your ad and you're just assuming that they drove by the billboard and that's why they bought from you?
Right.
So
exactly.
When you're working with a company, what's like the main things that you go in and say, hey, either you have this or we literally cannot work together?
So one of the things in this day and age, if you don't have a website, I can't work with you. And there's so many people who
it's 2025, and yet we still have to remind people they need a website. How crazy?
Well, this because there was a generation of businesses here in the last 15 years that were told that Facebook was going to be their website. That Google Business Profile was their website, right? That LinkedIn is their website. They don't have to do anything else. The problem is that any of those properties, all very important in their own respects, but you don't own that space. There's right now, I was just listening, who was it? It was High Level, which is a big CRM company, and a couple of well-known communities that got shut down on Meta for no reason at all. No explanation, no warning, the whole 9 yards. We're talking communities with tens of thousands of members.
100,000 plus in the Go High Level community, if I remember correctly.
Gone. I don't know if they're going to fix it or anything like that, but I mean, I have a lot of friends in that space, right? And it's just like, that's scary to me. If I had 200,000 people in my community that I couldn't talk to anymore, because that's where it was. That's where it's all centralized, right? Now, They have a website they can go to. There's other ways of connecting because that's a big enough corporation. But most of us don't have the type of resources a company like High Level has, right? Most of us have maybe a team of 10 if we have anybody, right? Like that's like the average for folks in the SMB space right now. And it's like, okay, so if you're relying on Meta, and Meta then say Meta decides, Mark Zuckerberg just decides, you know what? I think social media is antisocial, and I'm going to shut the whole damn thing down. What if you're making all your money on Twitter? It goes to X, and then he decides, you know what? I'm going to sell it to Mark Zuckerberg, and then Mark Zuckerberg just shuts it down despite him. There's all sorts of things going on in the billionaire circles that none of us millionaires and sub-millionaires have any control over. So why would you spend any time marketing without your own property? It's like starting a brick and mortar without the keys to the front door.
That's a great analogy. And it's one of those things that I often try to remind sales professionals is like, you have to be omnipresent. Because if all of your business is coming from one referral partner and all of a sudden that person decides they don't like you, or someone else takes them out to dinner and, gives them the old reach around and it's like, hey man, now you're my guy. You could lose millions and millions of dollars of opportunity. I have a client right now who's just been going through this. He, 7-figure business. All of a sudden, his one main referral partner decided that they were going to start working with some other guy. I don't know if it was a price thing or what the deal was, but he lost like $350,000 in revenue overnight. And I've worked with other businesses where like their main driver was their Instagram page, and that's where they were generating all of their revenue. And then all of a sudden, Instagram decided that they didn't like one comment they made 5 years ago, shut them down. Now, you can get those accounts back sometimes, but the loss of revenue during that time and the loss of trust during that time is almost like irreparable.
Right.
And so when you're working with a business, like I always laugh because I see a lot of professional marketers who have a website, but then I go and they don't have any tracking. They don't have any retargeting. They don't have any sort of like pixels installed on anything. And I'm just going like, how are you a professional marketer, but you don't have any sort of actual tracking like systems on these platforms? And they're always like, oh, well, we don't need it. And I'm like, okay. And so in your world, how important do you think it is to have those sorts of things in place so that you can go back and retarget the visitors to a website?
Oh, 100%. If you don't track, you don't know. So it comes to the 50-50 marketing paradox. 50% of your marketing is working at any given time. Most people don't know which 50%. So they can't tell you I can't tell you what to stop spending money on if I can't tell you what's working and what's not working. Okay? So if you're okay with burning money, don't worry about it. But if you're in business, you should be looking for a profit and you should be looking to maximize your investment. So you need to track your investments. It would be like me saying, hey, let me buy my Bitcoin from me. But then you not having like Coinbase to go in there and see how much it's worth as it goes up and down, right? And maybe there's a time for me to sell because it's time to get out. In marketing, there's always a point of diminishing returns. So something can be working and awesome, and then you're like, hey, we're going to keep going up. I was like, okay, that's great, because you're feeling it on the revenue side. It must be working, right? But if you don't actually look at your KPIs, you don't see the early signs of the diminishing returns. Or if they never hit the point of diminishing returns, sometimes it just stops working altogether and goes straight down. Because all marketing that works until it stops. It's just like people. People are great until they're not. That referral partner that you were just talking about, awesome. $350,000 from one friggin' contact. We're just printing money until you're not. You can't tell the future, especially when you can't see the lagging trends. So if you have no rear view mirror, you don't know who's coming up to pass you. You don't know if you're about to get rear-ended. You don't know if you're going to be sideswiped in your blind spots, because you have all the blind spots. All you can see is forward, and you think your forwards is a ramp instead of a mountain range going up and down. Do I think KPIs are important? Yes. If you're spending money on marketing, advertising, sales, any of that stuff without tracking KPIs, you are wasting money. There is money being spent that doesn't need to be spent somewhere.
And what's really important about this is watching the trends, because I can personally say, when we launched this business originally, we came out of the gate and we're getting like 4-to-1 returns. Every dollar we spent on Instagram and Facebook, like we were just printing money. And I'm like, hell yeah, keep spending $500 a day, $1,000 a day. Like I'm all day in this casino. And then in April of last year, Meta loves to make their changes in like, end of Q1, mid Q2. All of a sudden I'm looking and I'm like, where'd all the money go? Like we're spending $1,000 a day and like, we're not making $1,000 a day. What happened?
Right.
And Meta decided to change the way that their algorithm worked, right? They decided to change the way that they were tracking things. And all of a sudden I'm going, holy smokes. So this year, as we got into April, I'm looking at the KPIs and I start seeing we're going from like a 2.5, 3-1 to like a 1.5. And I'm going, all right, here's the change. Let's get prepared. Let's dial things back. Let's get ready. And I have another buddy of mine that does marketing, and he's just made a post the other day that was like, hey, June and July, let's think about this. What are people doing in the summer? They're traveling. They have other things going on. So, like, if you're not paying attention to the metrics, there's a good chance you're going to way overspend on things and not realize the fact that it is exactly what you said. It's a roller coaster. And if you can properly predict what's going to happen, then you can make better choices in your business. So, like, how do you
predict? I don't even think it's predict. I mean, like you said, it's trends, right? It's if you've ever played golf, the first time you're on a course, most courses have a tee box and there's a hole a few hundred yards away. Okay, we all know that, but if it's your first time on the course, you don't know if there's a blind spot, and there's a sand trap, and there's water over here, and all that other stuff. You're learning that first year, like you were saying, like last year that happened. This year, you're playing the same course, but you know hole number 2, hole number 3, I've got to watch out because there's a hazard over here. So I might need to grab a different club. I might not need to swing as hard, or maybe I need to swing harder. That is a trend that you're not, and people try to say they can predict things. I tell people in marketing, it's unpredictable, right?
Yeah.
You have so little control of things outside of your own company. And people try to worry about things they can't control. So they spend a lot of time spinning their wheels on things that they will never affect. Right? And I tell people, I was like, do you have control over that? No. You can either bet or not bet. Marketing and sales is investment. Investment comes with risk. If you can't handle the risk, do not invest. But if you're going to invest without understanding the KPIs and without tracking what's going on with your investment, I don't know why you're in the casino in the first place.
So, yes, you're absolutely right. What would you say are some of those controllables that someone that owns a small business can actually stay focused on?
You can stay focused on, I wrote a book called The Rule of 26, okay? And for small business owners, unless they are marketing professionals, like they have studied marketing, they worked in marketing before they became their own business owner, those types of people, okay? Most business owners need to look at KPIs that drive revenue. So I wrote a book called The Rule of 26, right? That basically boils down all of the KPIs. I mean, you can go to like HubSpot. They can track like 138 different KPIs, right? Most of which are either trailing or indicative of something that could happen later in the process of the marketing advertising, okay? So as a business owner, you don't have time for what we call vanity metrics, okay? Now, the most easy ones is like, oh, I got 5 likes. Okay, so what? So how many of those 5 likes bought from you? Well, none. Okay, well, then that metric doesn't matter, right? So there's 3 KPIs. You need to be looking at your traffic to your website because you own it, okay? If you're pushing to another place you don't control, you need to find out how many people are going there because the second KPI is your conversion rate. Now, on your website, you can move things around to increase that conversion, okay? The third is your average revenue per client coming from your marketing. What type of people are buying? Because if you not all money is good money.
Amen.
Okay, so like, if you're
amen.
Like okay, yeah, we're getting 4-1 on that because we're selling 100 units that should own, but we're going to now have to double up our fulfillment team because they're all taking up too much time because we got the wrong people in, right? So if you can increase each of those KPIs, your traffic, your conversion rate, and your average revenue person by 26% each, just over a quarter each, you will double the revenue coming from wherever you're pushing it. And I like to have it a website because we have control over it. So it's called the Rule of 26.
That's fantastic. And I've read a ton of marketing books, but I already know I'm going to be picking that one up because it's, hey man, even if it's 0.25%, like that is a massive amount of growth. And it's one of those things where so many people don't even know. It's like, all right, well, what's your average revenue per client? Oh, I don't know. Like, what do you mean you don't know?
Whoops.
Oh, interesting.
And people are like, and it's super simple. If you're a service-based business, your average revenue per client is the amount of clients you served in 1 year is the amount of revenue that you it brought in the year. So say it's $100,000, just for easy math. Yep. $100,000, and you served 100 people. You divide 100,000 by 100, and that means $1,000 per person, per client. That's it. Done.
Basic math.
That's the easiest way to do that. Now, are some of those people $2,000 and other people are $500? Yes. But that's when you get into the nitty gritty and then you start breaking them out, right? But if your average revenue per client is X, 20% of your clients are going to be 80% of your revenue. Mm-hmm. Those are the people that we call the P3P, the perfectly profitable prospect. Okay. Those are the people we want to market to, because the other 80% are eating up 80% of your profits. The 80-20 works so well in marketing and sales. It like there's a whole book on it. It's called 80-20 marketing. And the guy literally goes through and he's like, every single time I look at it, it always comes down to it. And he looks at it like the 80-20 of the 80-20. So he looks at the top 20%. And he says, what are the 20 of that 20%? Right? What are my top 5% folks? If I market to just those, will I get more of those? Yes. Now your salespeople are happy because they keep getting whales on the phone, on their sales calls, right? They're whales. And then every once in a while, and at that point, you can start saying no to the people who don't qualify as the 20% of your 20%. Sorry, you don't meet the profile that we want, because we now can say no. And no is more profitable sometimes. 80% of the time, you should be saying no. You should be saying no 80% of the time, because they're not your 20%ers.
Yep.
Right? But do we do that? No, because we sell. Salesmen make money when they sell. Right? Owner makes money when you sell. And they don't look at your opportunity cost. They don't look at your operational costs, which suck your ROI. And when I look at ROI, I'm looking at your net, not your gross. How much do you keep? I don't care how. I owned a company that brought millions of dollars in a year, and I kept 3% off the top. You think that was
an e-commerce company? Because that's pretty standard in e-commerce, it seems.
Oh, no. This was a creative agency. I wasn't even paying myself all that well. So I owned a job, right? Because I had to have that revenue coming in. It's not how much you make, it's how much you keep. So as a business owner, you need to find ways to incentivize your salespeople in ways other than just making the sale. And that's a whole nother conversation.
Well, and Buzz, I'm sure we could sit and nerd out on this literally for the next several hours. I love these kinds of conversations, and I certainly hope that we get another chance to chat about it and go deeper. But I want to be respectful of your time. What's the best way for me and all the listeners to come find you, follow you, check out your stuff?
Real easy. If you want a copy of the book, I'm actually giving a signed copy, a free copy. If you want to go to ruleof26.com, I just ask that you cover the shipping and handling, but I will personally sign and send that out to you. And if you're interested in what strategy first marketing looks like that actually plugs into your sales side, go to buzzworthy.biz.
I love it, man. Well, thank you so much for taking some time out of your busy schedule to be here. It's truly been an honor getting to hear some of this wisdom. And I know I've learned a couple things, and I have no doubt my listeners have as well.
I'm glad. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. You guys know what to do next. Share the show, post it on social media, tag the two of us, maybe send it to somebody that you know who's really sucky at sales and marketing and doesn't understand this stuff. Like, provide value to them, because this has been an awesome episode. And if you've got a crazy sales story of your own, we want to hear it. Head over to callthedamnleads.com/podcast. Send us your details. Let's get you on the show. Let's talk about the nerdy stuff that people need to hear, just like we did today. We'll see you guys on the next one. Go call the damn leads.